Good morning, everybody. Wow. When I woke up this morning, I thought it was like 2 o'clock because my body was saying it needs to get rid of stuff. And so I went and got rid of stuff. And I thought it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So then I looked at the clock and it was 4, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And my usual wake up time is between 4:30 and 6:30, but 4:30 seems to be like the average wake up time. And you'd think that I would have already acclimated to the time change, but I guess either this is now my body clock or who knows. So I'm up early, and this is when I think the best, and it's just nice being up early. So I know not all of you are awake, and that's okay. I don't usually say when I'm going to go on, so it's hard to say, so that not everybody comes around at the time I'm online. And so usually it's the replay that people take part in, which is fine. But I fear I just kind of do a little bit of chatter. Hey, Audrey, nice to see you. So yeah, yesterday, interesting. I was watching a movie, Dr. Zhivago. Very, very good movie. And I'll talk about that in a minute. But it prompted me to really get complete or express myself around one of my classmates' death from cancer, because I have been watching ever since April, ever since he put on his Facebook as well as YouTube, his journey through the diagnosis and then through the treatments and then through his final hours. And I'm telling you, I mean, it's like part of me wanted to reach out to him, but I knew we had mutual friends that definitely were not on board with this. And he's part of a community that really seeks to mitigate pain. And it would be inappropriate for me to just go in and try to completely like tell him that everybody is wrong in your world and you need to start doing the J juice and feel pain. I couldn't say that to him. I couldn't even tell his wife that this is, I mean, he knows who I am. It would have been his journey, his choice, his exploration if he wanted to. Thanks, Audrey. And so I wanted you guys to hear what his wife had to say. I'm not gonna say his name because I want to kind of keep it, but I want you to hear what his wife had to say, because this is what you guys are going to be seeing in your world, okay? Those of you that have friends and family that are facing cancer, disease, and chronic illness, you're going to see what exactly the system does, that some people can survive chemo and some people can't. Even if you try to do the cannabis or the other alternative therapies, if you have an aggressive cancer, some of those alternative therapies will not be strong enough for that cancer. And so you have to turn to very aggressive means, okay? So don't fault anybody for choosing chemo, because sometimes that is the only way, at least to see if they have a shot at stopping the tumors from spreading, okay? So this is what she wrote. What happened? Dear friends and family and loved ones, the family chose to stay silent as blank treatment began to shift and change. We wanted to honor his vision for his journey. Near the end of September, we learned that the treatment he was on for the UCSF trial stopped working and the tumor growth continued. They referred us back to Kaiser, and we agreed to start with the recommended chemo. He had some time off before starting back up with the treatment since, as you heard, the pain stopper procedure left his body in pain trying to heal from the shock of surgery. See, so they know innately that the pain was trying to heal, but the system is trying to stop the pain. And this is what then you guys who are not doing the J juice, that is also your intention. Even though you know deep down you need to feel pain, many of you still adopt the pain mitigation protocols. And so this is the way end of the spectrum when you have no more minerals, hardly any minerals left, and then you're trying to stop the pain. This is what you're going to be encountering. The day after his next chemo treatment, he started to show concerning symptoms, including memory loss. We were advised to go to the ER and ended up in the hospital for multiple days. It was here that our main oncologist broke the news that his body, particularly his liver, could no longer stand treatment. We needed to end medical intervention. Hospice was sent to our home the next day. We attempted various alternative options as to his request, and though we held on to hope, the cancer spread quickly. A few weeks after we left the hospital, he took his last breath. And then she has a video, a very deeply moving video. And this is where people are resigning themselves that this is what's going to happen to them. Because she said that this is what we're all going to face, our own mortality. And then this is where I say, no, we're not. We don't have to face this. This is not something that is inevitable if we understand the proper chemistry. And so when I talk about infection and talk about weakness and strength, every single infection you've ever endured is a sustained weakness, because every single time you dealt with that infection, which is a sustained weakness, you then have put another weakness in your body that when it becomes bigger, it attracts then the virus to then further destroy you, because viruses will either strengthen the strong or they will destroy the weak. Okay. And so so I know all of my symptoms. Like my biggest curse was yeast infections. Why did I get yeast infections over other issues? I had a weakness in my reproductive area, which then obviously turned into PMDD. So anyone that gets cervical cancer, testicular cancer, ovarian cancer, yeast infections, recurring yeast infections, or UTIs, you're looking at something in the future which might turn into a cancer or a major disease involving that reproductive area. That's a weakness. Every single infection is a weakness. And if you apply the wrong chemistry, you're making that weakness bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it becomes a chain reaction of then what you call PTSD, which then turns into then something like cancer, where you have no other choice but to apply chemotherapy. Okay? The people that survive their cancer with cannabis is because they caught it early. If somebody was like where he was at, cannabis and those alternative therapies would not have been able to fight it. Okay? There's no telling, and people don't want to risk. They know there are people that have gone through 40 rounds of chemo and they survived it. But then you're looking at different biochemistries. I mean, this guy that survived 40 rounds of chemo, tall, 7 foot, 6 foot dude, versus a slight Asian dude who couldn't handle the 12 rounds of chemo. Okay, so it's also what you bring to the table, what kind of genetics, what kind of mineral reserves you have to handle the therapies, to try to fight off the infection and fight off the cancer. Now, someone wrote to me today asking me whether the J juice is going to deal with all the viruses and blast them out of your system. And there's no way to blast any virus out of your system. Once you've been exposed to a virus, you have it for life, but viruses aren't bad. It's the fact that you have weaknesses. So if you have herpes, HPV, all the different diagnoses, every diagnosis that you have, it's a weakness in those specific organs or a combination of organs. And so autoimmune disorders or recurring infections or outbreaks is the body letting you know, red light, red light, red light, cancer is not too far in the future. Or then, you may have a weakness in your heart and you get a heart attack and then you die because you don't have enough mineral reserves. See, when someone has a weakness in the heart, they immediately go to the doctor because they don't want to die of a heart attack. Okay? When someone has infection or weaknesses in their reproductive area or in other areas where the body is not a vital organ, then they go to antivirals, they go to all the different remedies because the body can handle having that part of the body kind of shut down because it's not a vital organ. So you're not going to die if it's not a vital organ that has infection or weaknesses. But oh yeah, if you have a weakness or an infection in the brain or in your liver or in your kidneys or in your heart or in your lungs, that's something that people don't mess around with, and they're right down to the doctor getting something. But people can handle having infection in minor parts of their body. So this is why you're seeing a systematic degradation of our society, because of the wrong chemistry applied. They're not thinking that when you have that many infections over years and years and years, applying the wrong chemistry, something, you're going to eventually turn that weakness, those small little weaknesses all over the place, they're eventually going to start then multiplying, and then weakness attracts weakness. And then you start seeing people flopping around all over Facebook. Oh my God, I'm depressed. Oh my God, I'm going to the doctor. Oh my God, this. And so the weakness then becomes infectious. Then you start attracting other people reinforcing your weakness, reinforcing the wrong chemistry. And then this is where people go over the cliff with each other. Okay? And so I'm seeing it with him, and he's putting all of his, his videos and his posts out. And then you see people like me, like old classmates that haven't really been I've been in contact sporadically, but people start coming out of the woodwork. They're sending their condolences. He's even said people from his childhood that he hasn't talked to in years are coming in and giving their condolences or sympathies, all of this. And I'm just like, it's like watching what is it? When fish, when they're in their last throes of life, when they're flopping around in the water, then the predator comes in and is attracted to that activity, like a shark, attracted to an injured fish. That's kind of what Facebook is like. It's like having these injured fish in the water, and these predators are attracted to it. And I'm not saying that his friends are predators, but we attract, like attracts like. Okay? So when you're flopping around the water talking about all of your illnesses and all of how just hopeless you are, and how, that you're going to the doctor 24/7 and you're getting all these procedures, you're attracting people who are going to reinforce the weaknesses that can make your weakness even a bigger weakness and a bigger weakness. And then one day you're not going to be able to turn around from your procedure. From whatever procedure someone has recommended to you in the system, you're not going to be able to turn around. So it's fractals. It's infinite fractals. A small weakness, then you're a weak person, right? You're applying the wrong chemistry to make a bigger weakness, and then a bigger weakness, and then you're telling everybody about your weaknesses, and they're weak too, and they're reinforcing your weaknesses, and then all of a sudden the weakness is so huge. It's like watching a lynch mob, but like a friendly. There's like the love lynch mob, and then there's the hate lynch mob, and there's either a weak person or a strong person, and that weak person is going to succumb to the love lynch mob and the hate lynch mob. That's exactly how I see people on Facebook, as well as people in your life that are just talking about all of their stuff, their issues and everything else, and they're attracting like minds, and there you go. That little problem they had that could potentially be reversed has now turned into something so huge that it's irreversible, because so many people are going to support the wrong procedures, the wrong chemistry. And then they reinforce that with each other. And then people feel supported, and they feel like, oh yes, I have everybody in my corner. And when in reality, when you pass away, everyone moves on. But remember, it's like when people are attracted to watching train wrecks. It sucks, but it's true. Just like drama on TV, people tune into, just like drama on Facebook, people tune into. But I don't like the drama on Facebook, but I watch some of the death process in people, so you guys can see what you're in for if you don't turn your shiz around. Okay? because that is not a pretty way to go. Death is not pretty. Not everybody's gonna just stroke out and die and that's it, you leave this earth. You go through this process and then people suffer around you as well as you suffer. So when I was watching Dr. Zhivago, which is a great movie, is set in the Russian Revolution times. It's an old movie. And I hear about it, but I never watched it. But man, it's a cold ass movie. I couldn't live in Russia. I mean, I thought Ohio was cold, but Russia is even colder. But what triggered this whole like visual on how people behave around their illness and the strength, the strength attract everybody and the weaknesses attract everybody. But the weak people are very, very weak and they don't know how to fight off the predators. The love, love, love lynch mob and the hate, hate, hate lynch mob, they don't know how to fight them off. But the strong will be able to be choosy and keep the strong that are just like them. And they're able to fend off the love, love, love lynch mob and the hate, hate, hate lynch mob. Because that's how I see it. So in Dr. Zhivago, there was 2 instances where I just saw like just cells. When I'm watching human behavior and these soldiers that were trying to, I guess, go the other direction away from the Germans that were trying to take over, because this is in World War I. The senior officer was lynched by the soldiers. So they took this strong / weak person and they killed him with the butt of the gun because they didn't want to go and fight this war. They didn't want to fight a war based upon, the Romanov stuff. And so anyway, so they lynched that senior soldier. So I'm looking at it, it's like, now someone could look at it as antibodies destroying a cancer cell, or you can look at it as nutrition destroying a cancer cell. One of the two. It's however your perception of the two, okay? And then at the end with Dr. Zhivago, he, this movie was about a mistress and a doctor. And so at the end of the movie, he was separated from his mistress through a bunch of different experiences. And he sees her on a train in like Moscow or something. And he tries he sees her walking down the street and he's on a train. And then he gets off the train and tries to catch up with her. But he's like so messed up because of all of his war duties and everything else he experienced. Because I'm telling you, when you hang out in Russia during the wintertime and you're walking miles and miles and miles from one place to the other and it's so freaking cold, he was so decrepit and he couldn't hardly even walk. So he tried to catch up to her but couldn't. And then he falls over, completely just passed out. And then you see people just flocking. Now they're not trying to destroy him, they're trying to help him. Okay. And so it's another example of a weak person attracting everybody. And he's out there laying on the ground. He can't move. So he has no idea what people are applying to his body. If they're taking his wallet, he doesn't know. He has not the strength to find another strong person to help him or fend off the weak people who are trying to consume him. Okay. And so then it also reminds me of when you go to a rock concert or a sports game and the MVP is being supported, right? That's a cell being supported by nutrition, right? Or a rock concert. They're not lynching. They're not love lynching these people. Well, they are in a way, I guess, but it's like they're supporting him. Okay. But that's kind of how I see people. And when they are throwing their emotions all over Facebook, they are attracting the love lynch mob and the hate lynch mob, because love and hate will destroy, and weaknesses attract people, but strength attracts people too. However, strength, how you know something is strong is if they're able to, they're not throwing around their weaknesses. They're able to influence people in a way that empowers them to take control of their own life. Okay, that's how I see it, because I see a lot of strong people on Facebook that aren't trying to instruct people how to live their life, but give them some kind of opportunity, a way to empower themselves. Okay, and so anyway, so yeah, that's kind of how I see when people are dealing with major issues in their life and they're like this flopping around fish in the water waiting for a shark to eat them up. And so, yeah, the love lynch mob and the hate lynch mob, that's one of the things I need to start coining. is that when you start expressing your weaknesses, I'm telling you, you're going to attract the love lynch mob as well as the hate lynch mob. And a strong person will attract the love lynch mob and the hate lynch mob. And then that strong person will be able to fight off the predators and keep the right people in their circle. And that's exactly what you guys, I mean, because when I read that thing about this guy and the end of his life and how that transpired, I mean, you can only imagine watching someone go through, when a disease racks your body to that extent, and then you have all these weaknesses, because every single weakness you put out on Facebook, and some of you have put out some weaknesses on Facebook, how you're going to leave Facebook and how it's all crappy and you're just going to deactivate your account because you're so upset or you're so depressed, or who knows, you have some kind of issue. That is a weakness that will turn into a bigger weakness because you're going to apply the wrong chemistry. And it's a chain reaction of PTSD that then will culminate into cancer and disease and chronic illness, and then eventually cancer, to where you're ending up in hospice. That's exactly the line that most of you on my Facebook that are not doing J-Juice, they're not doing J-Juice. That's exactly what is in your future. So I had to read what this person had to deal with at the end of his life, because that is most of your future. That's what you're going to be, that's what you're going to be inflicting upon your friends and upon your family. And you will be infecting everyone around you with your weaknesses. So wouldn't you want to infect people with your strength and face the pain and do the J-Juice and do the waterfalls and forget all the BS that's out there that says J-Juice is horrible? Stop with the excuses of how you don't have time, because there's never a good time to heal. There's never a good time to take yourself away a little bit from the money that you need to be making, because you're trying to support all of your extracurricular activities. Because really, when you think about it, you don't need that much to survive. You really don't. I don't need that much to survive. Okay? I mean, we're living off of $40,000 a year, two of us. $50,000 a year, the two of us in Ohio. Okay? I don't do major vacations. I don't spend enormous amounts of money trying to support some habit, some hobby, some whatever. I let my husband have all the hobbies because he's working his ass off. He's not interested in doing the juice. And so fine, go have your hobbies, but just don't put us in the poorhouse. And so he found a happy medium. But most of you could find ways to fit in the healing and cut your expenses. But it's easier to blast your weaknesses all over Facebook, infect people. And then when it comes down to it, and now you're faced with a major disease, now you want people to save you. When you had this information a long time ago, but you never did anything about it until the bottom fell out. And so, so when the bottom falls out is when usually people invest in themselves, but sometimes it's too late for some people. I don't want people to wait till the bottom falls out before they actually do J-Juice, but it may have to happen that way. Okay, it may have to. And so yesterday I was listening to that song from Enigma, The Return to Innocence, because that's exactly what it's like when you die from cancer or when you do the J-Juice. When you do the J-Juice, you are now returning yourself back to innocence. You are taking yourself out of the game. You're not infecting your weaknesses onto everybody else. You are worrying about yourself. You're not worried about the fear of the government, because people are afraid like the Nazis are taking over and they're going to, depopulate the human population, whatever. And even evil people can use procedures for evil or for good. So the Nazis did some horrible stuff back in World War II. And then America took the Nazis and taken their expertise and then converted it to good stuff to then prolong your life. And then what people have done is they then made the whole correlation equals causation, not taking into account that they have generational weaknesses. They keep infecting their weaknesses onto each other, and viruses are ever prevalent. And then they're getting all these different crazy diseases, and they're blaming the system. They're blaming Rockefeller medicine. They're blaming the vaccines. They're blaming everybody. And that's history repeating itself, like when Hitler blamed the Jews for Germany's economy. And that's when genocide happens. So right now we're seeing history repeat itself. Even though we're showing World War II shows all over like the History Channel all the time, saying don't ever forget, people are making these movies about slavery, don't ever forget. But yet we are inflicting the same attitude onto our friends and family by doing reverse racism, by blaming and then genociding everybody. And Pia Maltania, you need to go get my book, okay? And then you send me the receipt, and then you need to ask the questions in my group. I don't answer questions on here about anything around the juice, okay? This is not the venue. Okay, go to my website, send us an email with the receipt, and then you can ask people how they characterize their juice and what to expect with the juice in my group. So anyway, so that's what we're doing right now, is we're blaming people for our conditions, and then we're genociding, and then we're lynch mobbing. We're love lynch mobbing, and we're hate lynch mobbing each other until we pass away. And that is not the whole point of J-Juice, is to lynch mob anyone, to love lynch mob or hate lynch mob. Because that's how I see how people react to people's weaknesses and strengths. Because let me tell you, I came out strong as can be out in Dr. Phil. I got the love lynch mob and I got the hate lynch mob. Now I have the people that I have in my circle and the people that are continuously on my Facebook that are supporting me are a combination of the two. They'll hold me accountable to some extent, much as I will let them. Okay. And then they also do support. So there's a good balance in between. Okay. So no problem, Pia. And just by the way, it doesn't have to be clear. You just leave it out longer and that's it. Okay. If you leave it out longer, then it'll be clear and the stuff will sink to the bottom. And that's the only question I'm going to answer for you. Okay. Because the way in which you came back at me in a very polite way, much love back to you. You can't go wrong with making the juice. Just so you know, there's no way to go wrong. But anyways, so yeah, so that's what I'm saying. We need to stop with the celebration of the weaknesses. That's exactly what causes cancer and then contributes to cancer. And so if you don't do the juice at all, every single infection you've ever experienced, whether it's a flu virus, because you know what flu viruses are? It's a weak body that is now symptomatic based upon the new virus, new entity in the environment, and you have weaknesses. Okay, so my PMDD is showing that I have a weakness in my reproductive system. The yeast infections let me know that I have weaknesses down there. Okay, trauma. Okay, so all of you that have either so many different infections, different issues, different diseases, those are weaknesses in those areas. And then you compound it by applying the wrong chemistry, then exacerbate it and making the weaknesses bigger. And then you flop around on Facebook, then making your weaknesses bigger, with then attracting the love lynch mob and the hate lynch mob. And then guess what? Now you're seeing somebody's end of life experience now be your experience. And that's not what I want for any one of you. Okay? So, that whole enigma, return to innocence, that's exactly what it is. With the J-Juice, you're taking yourself out of the war. With, when someone dies from cancer, you're getting taken out of the war and you're starting over again. It's another return to innocence, but you're starting over again, and hopefully you inhabit a body that would make the correct choices this next time. But then you're not going to know it, because you may, when someone passes away and then they get recycled back again, potentially through another body, they got to start all over again. And then who knows what family they're going to end up in. Okay? And so that's the whole reincarnation thing, which I don't know, some people believe and some people don't. But why not get it right the first time? You have but one life right now. Why not get it right now? Why have to start over again? But you can start over again without having to die. That's the whole point of the jade juice, is you can start over again, reset your body without actually having to physically pass away and go through that trauma. Because now that's another trauma floating around the universe. And it's a deep sadness. He's not a horrible person. He didn't murder anybody. He wasn't psycho. He was full of love, love, love. I mean, you look at all the tributes to him. He was one of those that was so full of love, love, love. And there are people like that in your world that are so like, wow, they're so lovey. They're so, and you don't want to say anything bad to them, and you feel guilty to say anything bad to them because they're so loved. But remember, it's an imbalance. Okay? There's got to be a balance between love and hate and all of that, boundaries and all of that. And so yeah, so if somebody that was very sensitive, like a medium, would go into the room of where he passed away, they would feel this deep sadness because he was newly married 3 years or so. His widow, oh my God, I don't know how she's handling. I mean, this is insane. It's so, I mean, I can't imagine what she's going through. Okay, when you had someone that was there with you through thick and thin, you got married, you have a huge community that loves you, and now you passed away, the practice is gone because you ran a psychotherapy practice, and now she has to go and just now move to a different house and start over again, and has to mourn. And do you guys want to go down that road? Do you want to do that to your friends and your family? That's not where I want to go. That's not what I don't want that to ever happen to me or anyone else. And it shouldn't. I mean, the suffering, that's what is the most intense, is the suffering of somebody's death, because they know they're on their way out. And you guys don't have to go through that. You don't need to. There's no point. Okay, so I'm crying now because, damn it, it really affected me. And he shouldn't had to have died. He shouldn't have. And I wish I was strong enough back then to be able to introduce this, but I'm already a target for people. I don't want to get attacked by anybody. And I want people to make these choices for themselves, because ultimately you're going to have to face the pain. I'm facing the pain of this person dying, and I knew this person. I mean, it was someone I grew up with in elementary and junior high, and he was in the prime of his life, and he was taken down by cancer because he applied the wrong fucking chemistries to his body, trying to mitigate pain, trying to run away from pain. And that's our system. That's our fucking system. Okay, do you have to take part in that? Do you have to flop around on Facebook as if you're a dying fish? Or can you just take control of your fucking life and face the pain and get through it, and then create whatever it is that you want to? Okay, that's where I'm going with this. Okay, so you guys, this is not going to reach everybody, and I know that. But if I can reach even a few of you to make a difference, because I'm telling you, the system is very, very strong. I'm not strong enough to really go and put myself, I'm strong enough, but I have to pick and choose my battles. I can't save everybody. I can't. And I know that. And that's why I am the way I am, is I don't get caught up in every single hard luck case. People will try to pull me into their situation, but I won't bite. Because ultimately, you guys have to be the one to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, or you get recycled back and start over again. You only have two choices, okay? And why start over again? Why? When you can make the right choices now. And because I already see the difference in my body. It's not like I'm this psycho person that just believes all her own bullshit. No, I already see the differences in myself. Okay, I already see the major, and you guys see it in a physical way. I know what is totally available for all of you, but it took me, I'm in my 4th year, and I went through some fucking hell. You guys seen the hell I went through? Just remember back in April, dealing with the media. Okay, look at what I went through with the Dr. Phil crowd. Okay, so I went through some hell getting this out there to pave the possibility for all of you. I'm not some martyr because I'm not dying, but I want you to know that that this is possible, that you can survive the healing process. It's not going to destroy you, but not everybody is strong enough. And that's something that I must face. But I haven't really had anybody close to me die. And I'm not saying he was close to me, but when he's 44 years old, that's the age of my husband. Okay? My husband is 44 years old. And it's like when someone's taken down at the prime of their life, that's unsettling. And now there are people that are in my high school or my junior high class and elementary class that have passed away, but they're not on Facebook. They don't talk about it. So it's not something that I'm like, but when you actually watch a person go through this process, it's crazy. So social media is great where you can actually see firsthand what people go through during the dying process, and it's not fun. But you have to watch it because this is something that you don't want to ever happen to you or your family or anyone else that you know. And so there's a way I can kind of give you guys a heads up that it's not pretty going through the dying process. You have a chance to face the pain now, so you're not facing the pain then and then dying at the end. At least the pain needs to go and do something for you, give you a return on your investment. So you face the pain now when you're strong. You don't have to go through what he went through. And he is an example, and that was his legacy, was that I watched that, and it just, and then watching Dr. Zhivago and all that, it just, things moved in me yesterday that I just can't even explain. So I have to pass that on to you guys, because you guys got to understand and see what it is that you're going to be facing if you don't get a hold of your shit today. Okay? So anyways, the longer you leave the juice out, the clearer it's going to be, and then you mix and stir too. So if you leave it out for 4 days, this is for you, Pia. If you leave it out for 4 or 5 days, and whatever, and then you see some stuff on the top, you just mix and stir, or scoop, whatever, mix and stir, and then leave it out, and then every so often mix and stir, and then you'll see the heavier, the fermented cabbage go to the bottom, and then it'll be easier to pour, and then it'll be clear on some level. Okay? But other than that, you guys, I'm going to go do my thing. I wasn't planning to cry on Facebook, but that was just like, holy crap, because it's been bugging me inside. I had to get it out. I did write on his Facebook wall a tribute, and I did put the theme and the lyrics of the song of Return to Innocence, and a little tiny short snippet of just my interaction with him as a child and watching him through the years. And if anything, this song really represents the return to innocence. The lyrics really represents all of you guys starting the J Juice, as well as those of you not doing the J Juice, and all points in between. Because it's really, you got to look within, you got to deal with within. The answer isn't out there, you guys. It's in here. And only you can do this. Nobody can do this for you. And that's really the words that I wanted to get across today. All right, bye.